Welcome back, everybody, to The Creative Moment, the creative podcast for all your creative needs. Dante Bullhauer, Jamie Bullhauer, awaiting Monday Night Football, Vikings-Rams tonight, Skull. But that's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
We are your hosts, as we have been for the past 8 seasons, and we have an interesting episode today. So let's just get right into it. All right, so this idea was brought to us by Jamie, or with the transitive property, John Mayer. And I'll go ahead and let you explain
just this morning. So this is one of those cases where this podcast, to a degree, is off the cuff a little bit. I mean, at times we talk about. So if you have XM radio or Sirius radio, whatever, John Mayer has his channel, Life with John. And he plays his own songs. He talks about, the stories behind them. And I really kind of like that. I like hearing how things are inspired and stuff like that. So he's listening to, now the song, I think it's One Heart, off of his second album. And he actually said, I don't actually usually listen to my own music, it just feels, but it's like having this channel forces me to. And he's like, this is a clever song. I like how the key change happens in the chorus and some other musical stuff, which is a little bit above my head. But he goes, and it's kind of cool because, John Mayer said, I couldn't write that song now because I'm not the same person. And then he went in and expanded a little bit of how created his songs and for creative people that it's kind of like a journal, and you get to see, what you were thinking at that time, what you were feeling, or what you were trying to do. And so there's actually a little bit of there. And my first instinct was, well, why couldn't you write that song? Why couldn't you do that key change? Thinking about that, I knew we were recording tonight. I was like,
You remember that time, even if it's not as fresh, but you still know whatever emotionally prompted him to write that.
Yeah, and from a technical skill, that was my first instinct. Yeah. I got a different answer a little bit later. Because my first instinct was, why couldn't you write that music, that key change and the, and as I was thinking of you, we talked about it, the use of the drawing, it's like, my first instinct was, I don't understand. Because you can recreate stuff that, your skill set, I mean, he's a great songwriter. His skill set, should be pretty good.
The technical stuff, it's like riding a bike. It doesn't really go away. I mean, if you can do it, you can do it. He knows what he did. He knows how he composed or whatever wrote it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. There are some creations that I have that maybe it would take me longer to get there from a technical standpoint. Maybe I just didn't know whatever I did to get to that point, to that final product. But in terms of the type of person I am and the type, like where I'm at emotionally or all these things, I don't know if it would change my ability to create or recreate a piece of art.
My first response is, you're still so young.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there going, wait till you're like 40.
Yeah, back when? It was 6 months ago. I'm like, back when I was younger. Yeah, I couldn't do that. I was a person back
then. So we're staying with the technical part, and especially your field, and we talked a little bit about stuff, but think of how the technology changes and maybe actually eliminates some things that you can do.
Yeah. The computer, like, just for a tiny example, the touch bar on the MacBooks for a while, they took that away, and that helped me with Photoshop in a lot of ways. I wouldn't know now just because I only kind of used them because of that touch bar. I don't know where to find that specific little shortcut or whatever because they took the touch bar away and it was just on there for Photoshop. I don't know if I would know where to find that now or what to even like look up to get to that weird tool. It tried to use my phone microphone, but it should still be good. It didn't look like it was off for long, but yeah, I don't know, like I don't know where I'd get to because it was just on the touch bar, and now they removed it, which I think was a step back for them. But there's like, for example, to get technical, clipping masks in Photoshop was just a touch on the touch bar, and now that there's just the F1 through whatever 11 keys, I had to learn a different way to use a clipping mask now. And for like a couple of weeks, I was like, I don't even know where to look for this.
So a technical, the tech aspect of it, to a degree, it is, and I was actually, as I was thinking on the drive to school, trying to just process what he said, and I was thinking of you in the technical aspect, but yet, as technology improves, or supposedly improves, it does eliminate some things. And so sometimes some artwork or some ideas or creative mixtures actually can be eliminated. But I still think you could, do that chord. But then I was like, for a while there, and I have quite a number of these, I had a style of poem, like an ode to, or an open letter to type of situation. In my book, April 2020, it starts with, to the old man gardening during the pandemic. And I have another one, to the old man eating alone at Valentine's, and to the young girl, and to... I've not written that type of poem at least for 2 years. And I have tried, and I can't. It's like I'm not... I can't do it. And so then I was just like, maybe that's...
as in probably it doesn't deliver
like,
the
it
same
just... No, I can't even sit down to write. Like, it just doesn't... It just doesn't happen. I've got a few notes. I have one of where I saw an older brother and a younger brother playing, and I want... But it's like... And I'm like, it's not... There's no form to it. It's just a philosophy of that and address... And it's weird.
I do think with emotion playing such a big part in just the creative process, that there are times when it is more of a struggle to create. Like when I go through rough patches, I do a lot of sports stuff. It's harder for me to do, to my standard, great sports stuff, because for the most part, sports is very upbeat, or it's a different vibe than like being sad or anxious or whatever. And so when you hit these like major pendulum swings in life, you're on top of the world or you're, in a valley, I do think it can be hard to recreate kind of carbon copy versions of those moments because of that overwhelming emotion. It's hard to put it in when you're on the opposite side of the pendulum.
Yeah.
And so I feel like just sports, as an example, is not as good when I am kind of struggling with things because it's harder in that moment while creating it to relate to the emotions of sports.
Yeah. I don't know. And as he had continued to talk as like what you were thinking at that moment, and we've touched on that creation, when it finally gets done, is a snapshot or a historical record to a degree. It was just kind of an intro, and this was, I think it was from Continuum, which is only like his third album. So is that the
one with slow dancing in a burning room?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's and so it, and I kind of, and that's my little joke about You're Still Young, is that album is at least over 10 years now, I think. And so I kind of get, or as I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about my own little that aspect, because I've got like probably 8, 9 poems in that style, and they weren't all done at one time. It just was kind of, I was. We're having tech issues, so this might be an interesting video once it's put together. It's live. I mean, we're filming it live. It's handed out to.
We'll get that stuff out of there.
Yeah, we'll work. But and they're all at different times, but they're all just this perspective that I had or was relying on at that time.
So, like, the poem that you wrote on the back of the cigarette carton or whatever while working.
I have never done another poem like that. Like that, meaning.
Do you think you could now, being a zillion years later?
You know, I get more as I thought about it, more as we're talking and we're doing that. I kind of, because that poem, I someday maybe I'll bring it and show it. It's hard to see anyway because it's on the back of a cigarette carton that's written in 97, maybe 94. I have never written a poem exactly like that ever again. There's 3 components. There's a use of the name tag and, you know, ID, you know, and stuff. And then there's my reflection about doing the graveyard shift for wearing Air Jordans, you know. Yeah.
And it's not you. Like, that's just not who you are anymore.
And I, you know, I suppose I could force it or you could force it and not, but it probably would not be, I probably cannot. I probably am now on John Mayer's side.
I've kind of turned a little just thinking about it in the last 15 minutes or so. Thinking about the moments and the emotions that I was in when creating like some of those meaningful photos or videos or what have you. I know what those emotions were and I can like remember them and channel them to some extent, but I don't think I could verbatim like really dive into like just say for example like the whole hard drive thing, whatever. I still had to create stuff last fall and I don't think I could get to the point where I feel that pain and despair again. I know what it's like and I can express it, but I can't feel it if I'm not in a similar place as that. And when we've talked about, when we create our best stuff, it's when we're emotionally charged in that space and we're really in kind of like we're in that flow state of this emotion and the art coincide.
Yeah. And I was just saying because Kevin, our guest, you know, he just released a book, and I
saw the review that you wrote
up. If you remember, in his interview, he said sometimes you're not ready yet to write or to produce something, which kind of correlates, because I was just thinking about that, because I'm like, well, I've got all these notes, and I've written some poems and have done some things after I've got them on Post-it notes, and that the Post-it note is there. It's an artifact for me to work on, but I've still got to create it. But that idea, now it's really, there's like kind of a cool spiritual, personal, what is actually the art we create, no matter what it is. And John Mayer, he did, like you said, it's a journal. And I know, I can hear, to him, he's like, I can hear what I was thinking. And for him, musically, it's not just the lyrics, it is the music and the guitar, and stuff. And for, to just kind of just hit, at first I disagreed. I was like, why can't you write that again? And now that I'm really, or as we've discussed and thought, So can you make art at the wrong time?
I don't know. I feel your best art. I feel like if you were wanting to deliver just a piece of art that exemplified like just pure joy, and you are not purely joyful, at least in the recent part of creating that piece of art, I feel like, and we've talked about it, doesn't seem fake, but it just doesn't deliver as well.
Yeah.
And like we talk about, art should be like, the consumer should not have to work to understand the emotion you're trying to convey. And so I feel like if you're in that kind of wrong time to be creating art that exemplifies emotion X or whatever, it shows, whether consciously or subconsciously, whether you were like in that state of the emotion that you were trying to convey or not. And maybe like the casual viewer can't articulate that.
Yeah, but they don't.
Yeah, but like an art critic or somebody that's in the industry can maybe feel that and critique that and recognize that.
Yeah.
I don't think any creation of art is necessarily like in the wrong time, but maybe it's probably not the time for you to be making this. Like the best art, I'll butcher it, but like I think it was a painter, a musician. Their world-renowned art was in a time when they were in like deep depression, suicidal, like all this stuff. Van Gogh comes to mind. I was probably wrong. Don't quote me on any of that. But like, and his art exemplified that. And so the art that, like, the photos that I take traveling, I feel exemplify kind of the adrenaline and the awe that I feel in those moments, looking at those views, looking at those landscapes, because I feel it and I recognize it. Where if I edited it, like if I edited that photo now, I don't know if I would have as much of a like blue sky or whatever, just because I know the adrenaline rush, but I don't feel it. I can't build that artificially.
Yeah, it's kind of for it to be such a actually personal artifact of the moment of your history, it's actually kind of cool, really, to dig deep and to think, and to a degree why you should create, though, too. Like, don't let ideas go by, because there's gotta be a reason for it. You're being inspired for something, whatever, it might totally actually be, or whatever, connected of dots or what. But it's like, it's saying, hey,
do something
here, somehow. Express this, get that out. And so in one way, it's like a more call to action to really do follow, through with that.
Yeah. And a lot of times I think maybe we don't even realize it. Like the way I compose this photo, or the way I edit it, or the way I do anything with it probably changes by maybe even like by the hour, by the day, by the week. And so I think it's kind of a testament to, if you are feeling one of those like deep emotions, strong emotions, go put it somewhere, put it on paper, or go take those photos, like do something with it, because then you'll be able to draw back on it later. I've never regretted making something, creating something.
No, and maybe even, like we said, the right at the time, but
take the note.
Doing the creative part is a part of why we're here, what we're doing.
And it is cool to look back on those years and say, I remember where I was at this point, and then the next year, and the next, and to have those kind of emotional timestamps. Because like when I look at the photos that I take, it does draw me back to that emotion. Like you said, you can't fully experience it probably by looking at it, but it's like just kind of a visual history book of your emotional journey, I guess.
I know, and the historical timestamp type of thing really connects to the poems, because I had one when I was at an educational conference. I had one when I was just buying a coffee. I mean, it just, but it is odd on my side. Just I don't understand. I have not sat down to. I've had an inspiration but it's just not. That's not what I'm writing right now. It's not what I'm writing, and so,
Yeah.
Okay, John Mayer, you're right.
Credit to you. You knew what you were talking about when you said that. Well, cause thoughts have been percolating just as we've talked, but so I did all those hype videos in that 2-week stretch, and I still felt good about the products that I put out, but I was pretty burnt out by hype video 16 or something, and I feel like as a artist or as a videographer, other videographers, if they watched all 35 of back to back to back, whatever, they would be able to see maybe a little drop off of, oh, he wasn't really feeling that hype video or what have you, because I wasn't. I know, like we said, technically what clips go where, what looks good, all that stuff, but I wasn't hype. I wasn't adrenaline filled making them. And again, the casual consumer maybe doesn't recognize it, but I feel it, and I think people that kind of know that videography landscape could feel it too.
Yeah. Well,
John Mayer dropping wisdom on a Monday.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
That we completely disregarded at the beginning of the podcast, and now we're here, I guess. Yeah,
there it is.
So, let us know your thoughts.
Yeah,
we literally worked through it.
Do you think you can recreate your art from years past?
And does it feel the same?
Yeah.
Does it give the same emotion?
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'll be sitting on that tonight. But nonetheless, that was Season 8, Episode 2 of The Creative Moment. We are on all the podcast platforms. We're on YouTube. If you're listening to it, we're on YouTube with video. We're on Spotify with video. We're on Apple, all those things. We got those just couple episodes issues cleared up. But wherever you can find us, thank you, as always, for your support. And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Well, let's see what the crazy edits are for